Undead Nightmare is arguably the best single-player expansion of all time. Well, that's if you exclude the expansions for Dream Daddy, a dad dating simulator. I think we can all unanimously agree on that. Undead Nightmare is a close second though. It's Red Dead Redemption plus zombies, what's not to love? It starts off with us in bed with our wife. A zombie comes in and John's like, I'll go get my gun, which I keep outside for some reason, you wait here with the hungry little zombie. My braless wife proceeds to get bitten by the undead farmer. Maybe immediately abandoning my family wasn't the best way to handle the situation. I execute the zombie and then my sookie son runs over, crying by my wife's side. She bites him and suddenly my whole family is infected. My wife chases me around for a while. I proceed to tie her up for the second time tonight. My son then begins chasing me around and so I tie him up for the second time tonight too. The joke is less funny when it's about a child. I leave them in the house and set off to find a cure so that I can save my family. I ride my horse towards the city of Blackwater. When I arrive, it's clear things aren't going great. There are tiny fires everywhere, and it seems people have taken the time to write messages out before dying. Nothing better than painting cryptic notes on the walls as zombies maul your loved ones. All of a sudden, the undead come out and swarm me. If zombies were to attack in real life, I have the perfect plan. I'd go down to the supermarket and loot myself some food and water. No one else will have thought of that. I'd then go home and play Dream Daddy, a dad dating simulator until the power goes off. I meet this girl who gives me a fire torch. I also notice one of the messages says, close the borders. It's a bloody apocalypse and the Mexicans are still catching shots. I appreciate the gift of a fire torch, but lighting the undead on fire only makes them scarier. I make my way over to the graveyard and begin burning coffins. Cleansing graveyards is one of the key gameplay mechanics, but most importantly, it gives me a chance to do a church review. Blackwater Church has an inspired rural charm to it. There's ample benches to sit on, a tasteful wooden cross on display, but the feng shui is off as there is no lectern for the past that had been kids over, put his notes. 4 out of 10. I helped the survivors clear out all of the zombies, and now I can sleep here and most importantly change my clothing. I put on John's Mexican outfit. I love Mexico for a pretty strange reason. A few years ago, my friend Robbo started calling my girlfriend Anna, Juana. He always messages her saying stuff like, make me some tacos, Juana. Anna's not even Mexican, but the nickname has really stuck and I actually see her as a Mexican now. I continue searching for survivors and find a nice friendly family on a roof.
Well, they let in too many foreigners. Just shut the goddamn border.
There's literally nothing Americans won't blame Mexicans for. Harsh but fair. I try to execute the crying child, but the game won't let me, which makes sense. Hello everyone, I'm proud to be launching the Modest Pelican water bottle. It's been something I've been planning for a while. Each bottle I release will feature a different Pelican character, so this one's got a high school bully on it. The future bottles will have different styles on them and will only be available for limited times. You can buy one right now at modestprinting.com, the link will be in the top comment and description. I'm so happy this is finally ready. The channel has needed some high tier water bottle merch for ages. Thank you all for the support, it means the world to me. I ride over to the next mission marker to meet my boy Seth. He's taught a zombie how to play poker with him. You really have to suspend your disbelief for this expansion. Man can play cards with the undead, but can't get his washing white. Bleach has been invented for 300 years, at this point there's no excuse. Seth tells me to go and burn coffins at graveyards and then come back to him. I stumble across an undead horse and I immediately tame it. The beautiful thing about undead horses is they have unlimited stamina, but they also randomly turn left and right with no notice. They're like Asian drivers. Kidding, that was too harsh. They're like Mexican drivers. I can say that I'm dating a Mexican. I ride over to the McFarlane Ranch and help clear out the zombie horde. I will admit I also take down a fair few of the survivors because I'm easily amused by friendly fire. My old side piece, Bonnie McFarlane, then stumbles out and she's pretty happy to see me. I imagine that will change when she realizes that I just murdered everyone she knew at the homestead. She says her dad's stuck in the barn and needs my help. Maybe Dream Daddy and Undead Nightmare aren't that different after all. I head over and the big old Malacca is a zombie and so I put a bullet into his head. No better way of rekindling an old romance than telling someone their father's deceased. She doesn't even give me a thank you over the pants wristy. I continue riding for the next town, determined to find a cure so that I can save my family. On my way I pass a doctor who's using a Gatling gun to massacre a horde. He asks me to bring him one of the undead, which I do. He's really thankful and then I jump on the Gatling gun and realize my undead horse has been swapped for a normal horse and so I murder it. The good doctor then walks in front of me and of course I have to kill him too. I haven't seen this much unnecessary violence since Juana burned the burritos. I now have to run everywhere though, so pretty bad decision making. A short way into my jog, I come across a legendary steed, Ponyta. I tame it, but wouldn't John's crutch be on fire? I mean, at least it's relatable. The horse's name is War, which is pretty alpha and it can even light zombies on fire when it runs into them. Pretty sick. I help clear out another town and the locals have some pretty exciting theories on what happened.
Are they Jews, mister? They sound like Jews.
I ride over to Fort Mercer where a bunch of people are hiding. They let me in straight away because I'm really cute, and my buddy Nigel West Dickens is here selling zombie repellent. It turns out the repellent actually attracts zombies, but never knock another man's hustle. He tells me to go and find some herbs so that he can make a cure. I ride out and immediately stumble across another church. This one's got a very bespoke feel to it. The deteriorating walls offer a rich rustic charm. It's got a chandelier giving the holy space a refined, sophisticated feel, and finally a lectern for the priest to put his notes on. And rail kids. Make sure to like the video so that all my content gets recommended to you. I ride for the next graveyard and come across a lad who's got his wife on a rope. God, the Wild West was a simpler time. He appears to be feeding her human body parts. At first glance it might seem like she's infected, but this is just PMS. I clear out the last graveyard and head back over to my friend Seth, who's now taught the zombies to play instruments and dance. What the f is going on here? Nothing more immersive than a zombie playing a violin. Zombie looking kind of hot though. Maybe it's because Anna's been away for 3 weeks, but everything's looking pretty hot. I decide I best get the herbs for the cure now, and so I ride over to tall trees on my flaming horse. I meet a lovely couple who ask me to kill some Sasquatches. I ride out into the trees and begin murdering the big girls. I murder 4 of them, and then when I get to the 5th one, he starts crying and pouring his little heart out. That's kind of cringe. You're meant to bottle up your emotions. He says he doesn't eat babies, just berries. I lasso Mopey up and drag the hairy lad over to the river so that he can drown. I played myself though, as John can survive a shotgun blast to the face but can't survive running water. My fire horse also dies. It's a sad day for John Marston. I begin the fun gameplay loop of riding around looking for violet snowdrops, which is the herb Nigel West Dickens needs. A woman calls out and asks me to save her, so I pick the lass up as it's nice to have company when looking for herbs. I decide to call this lovely lass Joanna. Joanna and I hang out together and make precious memories. I always assist her onto the horse, it's wholesome. We see the emotional Sasquatch running around, crying about extinction. I even saved Joanna from an undead bear moments before she was mauled to death. Eventually, I get all the herbs needed and make my way back to West Dickens, but she jumps off my horse and calls me a kidnapper. Joanna sending subtle messages that she's not interested, and so I tie her up and put her on the horse. You know what they say, sometimes you've got to brute force true love. Realizing I'm only one cutscene away from losing Joanna forever, I make the brave decision to leave her with this guy. Yes, some might call him a cannibal, especially as he's gnawing on a human arm, but there's something about him I like. I give the herbs to West Dickens and he says he'll need a few days to brew the cure. So I go and kill a bunch of rabbis and return several days later. West Dickens is like, sorry champ, I've got nothing, you should go to Mexico, that's where it all started. So after all that, it was actually the Mexicans' fault. There's a group of soldiers who deserted their unit and I go and find them. They're currently being swarmed by a horde and so I help them out. Is it really a zombie-themed game if the military isn't more useless than a condom machine in the Vatican? I ask the deserters if I can borrow a uniform so that I can go and join the real military. They say it's fine. 5 dudes sleeping in one single bed, is there anything more arousing? I mean, I execute one of them, but fortunately the others don't seem to really care. I ride over to the real military as they're planning to travel across the border on a train. You know the world's f***ed when people are trying to sneak into Mexico. I help the soldiers clean up the horde and then immediately fall off the carriage. I then need to run a train on the soldiers, I mean run after the train full of soldiers. Once back on board, I shoot the pursuing zombies. I told my mates Nick and Manuel they could say anything they wanted and that I'd put it in the video, so here goes. They said, up the Crowies, Premiership winners 1997 to 1998, how about that channel Misfit Minds, I heard they're the biggest channel in the world. Damn. Well there you go. We kill 1,000 zombies, but then the train tracks have been barricaded. There was a zombie playing violin, yet the most unbelievable part of this game is that the Mexicans built a wall. We begin dismantling the barricade. An entire horde of zombies then sneak up on us, causing my comrades to break their lines and desert. An entire military unit, and nobody thought to look behind them during an apocalypse. This is why the South lost the Civil War. I proceed to ram the train right through. I've watched enough of those GTA train videos to know that Rockstar trains can go through anything. I make it to Mexico at last so that we can finally get to the bottom of the apocalypse. I ride over to a nun commune to speak with Mother Superior, who's the Queen of the Nuns, aka Queen of the Virgins. She's kind of cute in an old lady type way. She asks me to save her sisters from an undead horde. I can relate and empathize with nuns as I wouldn't have sex with a man either, well unless he wined and dined me first. My grandpa used to tell us dark jokes when we were kids. His favourite nun joke was, how do you get a nun pregnant? You dress them up as a choir boy. He used to also change the words of every story he read us. He'd be reading Harry Potter and suddenly Professor McGonagall would be getting her throat slit by Ron Weasley. Harry Potter went from a whimsical tale about wizards to one of the most violent adaptations I've ever listened to. It was objectively better than the original. I saved the nuns. They seem really scared from almost dying and appear to be taking the death of their comrades seriously.
I've done as you asked.
I give Mother Superior a ripe old shoulder and then ride out to find her a zombie to experiment on. Nuns are not that different from Nazi scientists. I find an undead walker and bring it back. She begins throwing holy water on it, and for a brief moment the zombie returns to his human state. It's clear that this is some sort of spiritual religious curse. The good mother says I need to ride to the Mexican palace as that's where this all began. On my way, I spot a woman crying by her husband's side. She's pretty distraught, but what's the worst that can happen? She proceeds to shoot herself in the head. I arrive at the palace ready to end this plague for good. I kill this guy, and then a small Mexican woman, likely named Juana, tells me I need to return this green Aztec mask to its place down in the catacombs. I head deep inside the maze of tunnels and begin fighting my way through hundreds of the undead. So basically, this Mexican warlord thought it would be a good idea to steal the mask. I'm still shocked that after all that casual racism, it was actually the Mexicans' fault. First they took our jobs, and then they took our souls. John carefully places the mask back into its correct place, reversing the curse. We return back to our shitty little farm, and John's family are now human again. All is well in the world, except for the hundreds of people we killed that could have been saved. And don't forget, you can cop a water bottle at my new store, The Modest Printing Company, link in the top comment and description. Like the video if you enjoyed, thanks for watching, you absolute legends, I love you.